Hi there, one. It is currently the 22nd of June 2015. Meteorologist Robert Spetta here with you. Today we are continuing to track our tropical storm Whale, or at least what it means in Japanese, Kujira, which is still pulling off here towards the north. But if you're looking at the satellite picture, you might be thinking, where exactly is it? And am I looking at a plate of scrambled eggs? Well, really, this is a very disorganized storm. The center of circulation, in fact, actually is just towards the east of Hainan. What we're seeing right now is a pretty decent amount of vertical wind shear, and you can see that kind of streaming in from the east here, about 20 to 30 knots, and that's knocking out the higher cloud tops. But let's take a look at the visible imagery, taken just minutes prior to me uploading this video here, and what you can see is all that cloud cover I just mentioned here, just towards the west of the center of circulation, which is right here, that circular area in the clouds. That is where the eye would be if this was a full-fledged typhoon. But remember, it's not really an eye because this is just a low-level cloud cover here, basically around probably about 1 to 2,000 feet top clouds. This is all more or less cumulus in the lower levels. And over here towards the west, that's where all your rain showers are and all those thunderstorm activity really is. And really, in fact, the highest area of winds. I mean, you could even see this from earlier on when we had a pass with the ASCAT satellite. The highest winds were just along the southern and southwestern periphery of the center of circulation, about 45, gusting up to 50 knots. Now, this is based on satellite analysis and not actually on the ground obs, but nonetheless, pretty good accurate estimation of how strong the winds are, especially when we're talking about less than 50. And that is why the Japan Meteorological Agency does have winds right now about 40, gusting up to 60 knots. Pressure down to 990 HPA, moving north-northwest at 15 kilometers an hour, so it has picked up its pace, well, just a little bit as it starts to approach the rainy season front a little bit farther off there towards the north. Big thing, though, is that here in Hainan, you have been put under Signal Force 3, I believe, according to the China Meteorological Agency, and Signal Force 1 still remains in place for those of you at Hong Kong. Really, Hong Kong, you're just going to be seeing some pretty fairly gusty winds out here as this starts to push off there towards the west. Just more or less gradient-induced winds along the eastern periphery of this storm system, which is more or less a monsoonal gyre. And what I mean by that, it really is embedded in the leading edge of the southwest monsoon. Remember, that's the southwesterly winds that come in when you get the area of low pressure, that stationary boundary starting to lift farther towards the north. That's our rainy season front, and the Siberian high starts the weekend, so we start to see an area of low pressure kind of over Siberia, and this all starts to move those winds in from the southwest this time of year. Well, sometimes within that bulk of moisture, we start to see these large areas of circulation. Now, it's not very pretty most of the time, and really the center of circulation often is exposed with the bulk of the convection away from the center of circulation. We're actually seeing that right now here in the South China Sea, even back here towards the west, there into the Bay of Bengal, and believe it or not, on the west side of India, we kind of got another area. Now, these ones aren't named. This is the only one that's named, but it really is bringing a big impact here. You just have that persistent moisture, and it's still continuing to push on shore as we go ahead through our Tuesday here, drifting off there towards the north, with all that moisture wrapping around the eastern periphery. Even some areas there in northwestern Luzon, you could still be impacted, but I think a lot of the rain now, I think most of the rain, especially for Manila, is over with outside of afternoon thunderstorms because this is still unstable. We're going to get a lot of daytime heating mixed in with this, but then as this pulls off there towards the north, Hong Kong, that rainfall is just going to continue to persist. Just zoom in on this and just show you right now, according to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, winds of 72 gusting to 91 kilometers an hour. They do have that track kind of moving right over Hainan. I think it's going to be a little bit farther there towards the east, but coming on shore there in the China before it completely weekends out as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. So that kind of gives you a rough idea of what I'm talking about here with this storm system. For the most part, unless you're here in southern China and you live right on the immediate coast, you're probably not going to be seeing some high winds. And likely the biggest issue coming with this is going to be the rainfall. And there will be a lot of rain, so there is a flood threat there, especially around Guangdong province as we go ahead through the mid and latter part of this week. So even though it is a weak storm and it's not anything too impressive, still is going to have its bag of problems with it. So let's get back to the tropical update here, talking about the extended forecast, because even though Kujira is going to be going on shore by midweek, we still have a couple other areas in the model outlook. One over here that's kind of southeast of Guam now. The GFS has been spitting something out there. I'm not really too excited about it just yet. Really, there's not a ton of model support. It's been on and off. Here's what the nav gem shows, something kind of forming up and moving along the east coast of the Philippines. And even with the ECMWF, it kind of has something meandering here before moving off there towards the north a week from now. We're talking about next Monday. Thing with this, though, there is too much spread, and the spread is actually not just intensity, but exact location. GFS is back here, nav gem's over there. So really, the models kind of say, yeah, something wants to form in this area. And you know what? There is a lot of moisture. We got a lot of sea surface temperatures out here. What I mean by that, it's over 30 degrees for the most part. And that means that there is a very high risk of some heavy precipitation being really just coming on shore there in the Philippines as we go ahead by early next week. Is there the possibility one of that areas of precipitation could be a tropical depression or a tropical storm? Very likely. And that's why we're going to keep you guys posted and see what does happen out here. Right now, though, what I can tell you is there is some model guidance kind of hinting at anything. But, yeah, right now I'm just really unsure exactly because there is a lot of convection, and the big problem is, and when you don't have one bulk of convection, you just have a ton of convection, pinpointing where a storm could form, or if one does form, how strong it would be, gets really tough. And really, the good news is when you got too much competing factors against each other out here, sometimes it nulls each other out and you just don't see a storm form. Vice, if we had just one big old area of convection over here and dry air out ahead of it and dry air north of it, yeah, then we would be like, okay, there's going to be something forming here. But right now, we just got a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to keep an eye on it and see what happens. All right, guys, that's all for me right now. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them down there in the comment box below. I always appreciate your feedback. Just clicking through the satellite page. Just a reminder, we got a lot of stuff here, so please do go check it out. All right, guys, stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.